Hi, Dr. Piper.
Hello, Taylor. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. We were talking off air about another kind of like rule of best practice, and we were actually kind of debating about rest versus recovery, and in regards to what we do in orthopedic surgery versus how that would apply to other areas of life. Talk to me about what your thoughts are on rest versus recovery.
So I think, we're always recovering, right? If we have an injury, if we have an issue, we're always recovering. And recovery can be active, whether it's recovering from an injury, whether it's recovering from a long day of work, whether it's recovering from different challenges that you may be facing in life. Recovery is an active process. You want to engage in that. Now, the difference, and I'm not suggesting that all rest is bad, but I'm saying inactive rest, really disengaging completely from life in general or disengaging completely from activity, that leads to problems ultimately in the future. And so while there is a place for rest, really my focus is on recovery, because recovery is an active process. Recovery is a process where you're not disconnecting from life, you're not disconnecting from activity, you're not disconnecting from being engaged with the people around you, right? And so while there is plenty of room in life to rest and to try to get better and to try to recharge, but recharging in and of itself is an active process. So that's the difference for me between rest and recovery. When we take somebody and we put them in a cast, we have to put them in a cast, but the process of putting them in the cast and resting is not ultimately the end process, right? They're recovering and healing underneath that cast.
Which would imply that when you said they're resting, they're not resting. You're still saying they're recovering.
Correct, because they're healing.
But to me, that means that there's never anybody actually resting. Because to me, rest versus recovery. I think of recovery, that word makes me think more of like rehabilitation, the active process of we're not actually resting. We're doing our therapy. We're doing our home exercise program. We're doing something intentional and active versus rest, which was where we're being intentionally inactive. Sometimes rest is necessary. Sometimes disengaging from things that are hurting us or aren't serving us is a good thing. And I would argue that while they are different processes, they're both worthwhile. I would argue that there's a place for both of them. I think your definition of rest to me makes it sound like that there's never any true rest. Because even if I put somebody in a cast, are they resting or are they recovering? I
think they're still recovering.
Right. So, and I would say that they're intentionally resting, which is a part of recovery. So,
yeah, I agree. But then intentional rest becomes recovery.
Right. But that's what I mean by your definition. There's no rest. There's no rest. Rest doesn't exist. The limit does not exist.
And what I would suggest is if you truly define rest as being completely disengaged, completely inactive, taking yourself out of life in general, then you don't want that, right? If when I talk with athletes who have a shoulder problem, right? And they say, well, what am I allowed to do? I said, you're allowed to do anything that you can as long as it doesn't hurt, right? We can still count that in the realm of recovery or count that in the realm of rest, but it doesn't mean that we got to lay down in bed and do nothing, right? And when you're recovering from total knee arthroplasty, we don't have you lay down in bed and do nothing, right? We don't have you do complete rest. You've got to get up and you've got to get moving and you've got to be active so that you can get recovered. And now you're not doing what you were doing before. And for some people, it may be that, hey, I build fences or do different things. And so you're definitely resting from that, but you're recovering, and that recovery process is active.
Yeah, those two are still a little bit muddied to me, but I hear what you're saying, and I respect it. I just still disagree.
Respectfully disagreeing is part of the process.
Oh, my goodness.
What?
Respectfully disagreeing is part of the process. Let's put that on a bumper sticker.
Next to what?
My kid goes to blankety blank elementary, and all I got was this silly bumper sticker.
Nice. I like it, Taylor. Well played. Rest and recovery.
Rest.
You can rest, I'll recover.
I like it.